Today, students of Indian philosophy celebrate the day as Geetha Jayanthi. Let us have an introduction on the philosophy and psychology of this text, which has influenced people across the world. The Bhagavad Gita is set on the battlefield, yet it is not a manual for war. It is a text that unfolds the inner landscape of the human being, our conflicts, fears, values, and the deep structures of identity. The crisis of Arjuna is presented with striking psychological precision. He is overwhelmed, confused, unable to reconcile his emotions with the demands of action. The collapse of his inner world, his sense of identity, purpose, and moral orientation creates a profound grief. His limbs tremble, his clarity collapses, and he wishes to withdraw from everything he once believed in. What makes the Gita remarkable is the intervention of Krishna, who refuses to analyze Arjuna's symptoms as isolated psychological problems. Krishna's first step is to expand Arjuna's sense of identity. He reminds him that who he truly is cannot be reduced to the body, to roles, or to the fleeting conditions of the mind. Identity, Krishna suggests, must be grounded in something enduring and unchanging. It is this anchoring in a deeper dimension of the self that becomes the basis for healing. The Gita begins by describing the distinction between what is real and what is transient. The real is that which does not change. The transient is that which appears and disappears. Every experience has these two components. When we say the pot exists, the pot is temporary, but the existence in that statement is constant. This distinction becomes foundational for the Gita's psychology. All changing forms, body, emotions, circumstances belong to the realm of the transient. But the sense of being, the continuity of inner presence, does not come and go. This unchanging presence is the true center of identity. Krishna uses this insight to address the roots of Arjuna's despair. If the essence of a person is always present and never lost, then grief, which rests on the fear of loss, collapses at its foundation. The body changes, ages, and dies, but the inner reality does not. That reality does not begin at birth and does not end at death. Krishna emphasizes this repeatedly. Nothing real is ever destroyed, and nothing unreal ever truly comes into being. The distinction between the real and unreal becomes the basis for psychological stability. Self-knowledge in the Gita means recognizing this inner continuity directly. It does not come from external evidence or intellectual analysis. It is immediate, intimate, and transformative. Modern psychology echoes this insight when thinkers like Abraham Maslow say that ethical clarity arises when one understands one's own nature. Knowing who one truly is leads to decisions that are natural, effortless, and aligned with inner truth. Many problems dissolve simply because one's choices are grounded in authenticity rather than confusion. The Gita also presents a sophisticated understanding of conflict and wisdom. Krishna does not give Arjuna a single rigid answer. He presents multiple perspectives, multiple approaches, and several philosophical alternatives. The aim is not to give Arjuna one fixed solution, but to dissolve the fragmentation in his way of seeing. This is the Gita's method, the dissolution of conflict through an integrated vision, not merely through conceptual explanations. Wisdom, therefore, is not the product of more complex thinking. It emerges when the mind becomes open, sensitive, and capable of holding contradictions without collapsing. Heidegger called this a meditative mind, a mind released from compulsive problem solving, open to the larger field of meaning in which problems appear. The Gita cultivates this openness. It moves between apparent opposites, action and renunciation, devotion and knowledge, individuality and universality, and shows how they exist within a larger unity. Everything, Krishna says, is like pearls strung on one thread. A central conceptual framework in the text is the distinction between the field of experience and the experiencer. Everything we know, the body, senses, thoughts, emotions, external world, constitutes the field. The experiencer is the conscious presence that illumines the field. Psychological error arises when the person confuses the two and says, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the one who suffers. This mistaken identity produces an ego that appears real but is only a provisional construct. Consciousness itself is never bound. It simply illuminates whatever appears before it. The Gita describes 3 layers of identity: the empirical person who is born and dies, the witnessing presence that observes all experiences without being affected, the supreme identity that permeates everything without division. The crisis of human life stems from identifying with the first layer alone. When one discovers the second and third layers, fear dissolves and a profound stability emerges. The text then weaves this understanding into its teaching on action. Action, according to the Gita, is governed by the forces of nature. The psychological makeup of a person, its tendencies, impulses, and patterns, gives rise to action. The mistake lies in assuming that I am the doer or I am the one who enjoys. When the sense of doership dissolves, action becomes free, clear, and effortless. Renunciation is not withdrawal from work, but release from possessiveness and the demand for outcomes. Action done without inner agitation becomes a form of meditation. The Gita defines this integrated state, yoga, in 3 ways: steadiness of mind, skillfulness in action, and disconnection from sorrow. These are not separate goals but dimensions of one inner integration. When action is performed with clarity and without anxiety, the mind becomes steady. When the mind is steady, action becomes skillful. When one is not shaken by pleasure and pain, sorrow loses its grip. The Gita offers a portrait of an integrated human being, the person of steady wisdom. Such a person finds contentment within, is not dependent on external conditions, and accepts life's pairs of opposites without being shattered by them. Happiness, in this sense, is not pleasure but the experience of one's own nature. Pleasure depends on contact. Happiness is a mode of being. Ultimately, the Gita presents a psychology that is inwardly expansive and profoundly transpersonal. It integrates action, meditation, love, and insight into one unified vision. Arjuna's journey from despair to clarity, from fragmentation to inner wholeness, is the journey the Gita offers to every seeker. The battlefield becomes a metaphor for the human mind, where conflicting voices must be integrated rather than avoided. Through clarity, introspection, and grounded action, one moves from confusion to wisdom and from sorrow to a deeper alignment with the real,